So when the devil tempts you or tries to distract you or sow fear into your heart, even through these gloom and doom preachers that from time and again are proven false by the church, just tell the devil when he enters your mind with these distracting, despairing thoughts, these ill thoughts placed in my mind, to thee, O Jesus, I quickly bind, that thou might cast them far from me. By thine own fiat, set me free.
Glory to God in the high.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to Armor of God again. I hope the start of this year has been great for all of you, and if it is not, please hang in there, continue praying, offering up your sufferings to God, and have faith in God. Anyway, it's a rather short compilation this time, but it's still filled with a lot of interesting ones though. So I would like to start with this very short clip of Msgr Stephen Rossetti on how the angels and demons look like. I feel that it has been quite a while since I've shared anything from him, so please listen to this.
What do angels look like? Angels don't look like anything, because in terms of having a body. See, they don't have bodies, but they do look like something spiritually. Of course, they're beautiful. They are pure spirits. So they don't have now when they appear to people, they take on a appearance of a body, so we can see them. So yes, they will do that. But in their pure form, they are purely spiritual. But they radiate God's love, God's peace, God's joy. They're filled with Jesus. They're filled with God. So they're beautiful, beautiful creatures. And sadly, on the flip side, I know someone who has can see demons, unfortunately, but it's a charisma, if you will, from God. It really is. And she said that you can't imagine how ugly demons are. There's no TV show or movie that ever comes close to it. And when you talk to someone who has died and gone to hell, these near-death experiences, again, they're not de fide, but I actually believe some of them. They'll tell you you can't describe how hideous demons and Satan are. What did St. Faustina say about the 7 sufferings of hell? One of them was the vision of Satan. She said you would walk on every coal and suffer every suffering in the world, rather than one glimpse of how awful Satan is and evil. And why is that? Because sin is so bad. If we began to realize how awful sin is, and an offense against the beautiful, loving God of ours, we would. That's why it's so ugly.
We're going to have another interview with Father Joseph Iannuzzi at the end of this month, and I'm still putting together the questions that I'm going to ask him. I hope I'm not going to disappoint with the questions that I'm going to ask. Anyway, there's a clip of Father Iannuzzi here where he talked about the fear that's disseminated by the media, by Hollywood, and interestingly enough, it's also quite similar to what Father Reehil said during his show on Radio Maria recently. Listen to this so you'll understand what I'm trying to say here.
Get comfortable with the fact that you're going to die. Because once a person is comfortable with dying is when they truly start living. Okay? This is countercultural to what the world will tell you. The world says self-preservate your body as long as you can. That was never the goal when Jesus came to set us free, is self-preservation forever. Clearly it wasn't, because if the most perfect person, who happened to be human and divine, his life ended at 33 years, clearly living forever wasn't the goal. Not as we are in this state. Living forever in the next life is the goal. So when we look into the world and the spirit of the world and those entities that are being driven by the spirit of the world, Hollywood, television, media, Madison Avenue, all of it, it's all being driven by the spirit of the world, which is Satan. And this is fomenting fear-mongering in people, And the fear-mongering is among these networks that are working for the devil, and it's to instill fear in you. And it's to drive you to a constant cycle of checking the news, checking your phone, having all these bells and whistles going off all day long to alert you of the next crisis that's occurring. And that just draws you deeper into this, going down the rabbit hole of fear. It's not healthy. You have to put a holy hour in your day every day. And if you can't get to a church, do it in a secluded room in your home, where you're praying every day. We're now living in those days where we have to be praying every day. I personally do believe there'll be more fear and terror doled out in the weeks and months to come, because that's the way the enemy is operating. And that's his goal, is to drive us into a state of panic when we will stop praying, stop trusting God. I want you to think about this. This is an interesting point that a lot of people don't want to hear, but the truth is, when you are giving into fear, the message you are sending Jesus is, I don't believe you can take care of me. That's why I'm afraid.
And then compare what Father Reehil just said in that clip to what Father Joseph Iannuzzi is saying in the following clip.
So when the devil tempts you or tries to distract you or sow fear into your heart, even through these gloom and doom preachers that from time and again are proven false by the church, just tell the devil when he enters your mind with these distracting, despairing thoughts, these ill thoughts placed in my mind, to thee, O Jesus, I quickly bind, that thou might cast them far from me. By thine own fiat, set me free. So courage is a very powerful tool against fear. Now, in these end times, we're being given by the media, the secular media. They call it a psychological operation, a psy-op. They throw out all these fearful tactics at you, whether it's on account of a virus, whether it's on account of drones, whether it's on account of this or that. Whether it's true or not is not what I'm addressing here. I'm simply addressing the response that they instill in you. Whether they do it deliberately or not does not matter. What matters is this fear has no place in you as a Christian.
And if in the previous clip, we listened to Father Iannuzzi as well as Father Reehil talking about the fear that the media, Hollywood, etc. are spreading out there, I feel it is also important to include this clip about courage as well.
And courage is the answer. That gives you peace. But courage does not come by itself. It's the fruit of number one, humbling yourself in prayer, considering yourself unworthy to merit such trials, resigning yourself to the divine will. And in that moment, peace comes. And you offer up those trials as a pleasing sacrifice, a holocaust, an oblation to God of praise, satisfaction, reparation for the offenses he receives. And the devil, seeing you courageous, which is the last quality that follows humble prayer, resignation, offering up courage. Once he sees that courage, he flees.
And the following clip, I think you're going to find this one very helpful. I personally do, because sometimes it happens a lot in the past, not so much these days, but still from time to time I feel disturbed, that it's impossible to have peace within me and just being in a state of anxiety. Listen to this one from Father Iannuzzi again.
Humility disposes one for trusting in God. It lets go of the reins and allows God to guide. Unless a person is humble, they cannot do that. They have to be in control, you see. It is only when one places one's trust in humility that peace comes to the soul. So if you detect a little bit of disturbance, it is a sign that you are making a little exit from within God. Because to contain oneself within him and not to have perfect peace is impossible. Now, the devil is very clever, and he will try to make us lose peace. I would say hundreds of times every day, and I speak from experience. If you are recollected, or if you are aware of these tests of the devil in your mind through the intellect and memory, you will confirm yourself this truth that I share with you. Now, in the writings of the Venerable Concepcion Cabrera de Armida from Mexico, in a work entitled Ad mis sacerdotes in Spanish, which in English is To My Priests, he tells us that the devil tempts priests thousands of times a day. The devil will test priests thousands of times a day. Now, this comes, and I speak from experience, and I'm sharing just my own experience, maybe other priests have their own too, principally from the intellect, where the devil will put patterns of words or even thoughts or emotions. This now goes from the memory into the affectivity of the body, into the person without their consent. And this is how astute the devil is. He will do it in such a way that you think you put it there. even though you know you didn't, because you didn't have anything to do with the circumstance surrounding that pattern of thought or image or affection or emotion. It just comes spontaneously out of nowhere. Now, how does the devil make you think you did it? Because once it enters your intellect by the devil's doing, this is very important. You have to be convinced that the devil does this, because if you don't, he will win in leading you to a distraction. Once he puts these patterns of thought or images or emotions or whatever they may be in the intellect, he immediately allows you to try to figure it out and say, where did this come from? So you automatically go to the memory, and there is a connection, because that memory or image or thought is connected to something you experienced in the past, which could also have been produced by him. But you blame yourself because you said it's in my memory, so I must have put it there. But you oftentimes did not. This is how shrewd Satan is. And this is why in recent times I composed a prayer for this Jubilee year, and in fact, to be used several times throughout the day. And I composed this on New Year's Day because I was driving the car here in Italy. I spent Christmas Day by myself, of course, which I normally do because here in Italy I'm away from my friends and back in the States. And I've been working a lot on reading and writing and translating, so I don't have much time to go out and make friends, okay? So I'm driving by myself and I'm at a red light, and this thought comes in my mind. Now, mind you, it's the new year, and I've already received the plenary indulgence, which is granted to all Christians on the first day of the year in honor of the solemnity of the Mother of God, provided they do the 5 requirements the Church asks of them, which I did. So I'm in this beautiful, peaceful state, and out of nowhere, at a red light, comes this thought that was not even connected with my memory. Oh, actually, it was. It was of a conversation I had with a priest here in Italy. It had to do with just banal stuff about utility bills and things like that. Because, by the way, did you know that in Italy, we pay more for lighting expenses than any other country on the planet? It's almost 3 times as much as what people pay in the United States just for electricity bills. It's insane here. So this weird thought comes to my mind out of nowhere, and I connect it automatically with the memory of this conversation I had with the priest about the utility bills, okay? And then a sense of anxiety starts to set in me. I'm thinking, okay, here we're dealing with bills that have to be paid. And I said, wait a minute, why am I thinking of this on a beautiful, peaceful day of the first day of the year? And I identified the source right there in its tracks. It was Satan. I saw him face to face. And acknowledging that he's doing this, I said, okay, 2 can tango. I will make a prayer and I will share it with others so that when they experience what you are making me experience, they will do what I will do. And I will cast you out with an ode. So I composed this ode to cast out the devil because, as you know, I work with Father Ramorth and I know the devil's tricks and how he makes us think that some of the thoughts we experience are our doing and they're not. And the ode is as follows. These ill thoughts placed in my mind, to thee, O Jesus, I quickly bind, that thou mightst cast these far from me, by thine own fiat set me free. So I composed that sitting in the car in about 5 minutes in my head. Then when I came back to the rectory, I wrote it down and I shared it with a few people. I shared it with someone, they sent it out. So if ever you have these thoughts, and I think this is how the devil tempts most of us. It's mostly through the intellect. Just recite this little prayer. These ill thoughts placed in my mind, to thee, O Jesus, I quickly bind, that thou might cast these far from me, by thine own fiat set me free.
Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And hopefully all of you have learned so much from this video. And remember, if ever you have any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. Anyway, if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. And until the next one, thanks again for watching and may God bless you.
You know what I believe personally, even though this is not an official teaching of the Church? When the Holy Spirit descended upon the apostles with the Blessed Mother, in that moment they were filled with courage, infused knowledge, and the desire to give their lives to the Lord, to lay down their lives for Christ. My question was to myself, what gave them this fearlessness, this courage to go out and give their lives for Christ, not caring if the devil tries to attack them, which he did many times, and even put them to death, because that death of theirs gives them a straight ticket to heaven without purgatory. That's an official teaching of the church. Martyrs go straight to heaven. What gave them this courage? It was the forgiveness of all their sins. That's my personal opinion. When that Pentecost Sunday came down upon them, it was Divine Mercy Sunday. And they had this conviction that God has forgiven and forgotten everything. And if I die today, I'm ready to meet him. And not only am I ready to meet him, I want to express my gratitude by giving back what I have received. And that is my life. Like a pleasing holocaust.